So look at Anthony Ryder from South Lyon, Michigan, recently selected as the Lions 2020 Fan of the Year. He has a passion about sports broadcasting.
With the 112th selection in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Amon-Ra St. Brown, wide receiver, USC. One pride, baby! Yeah! What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Detroit Lions video. Now, third round pick Brodrick Martin of the Detroit Lions, their most recent third round pick of Western Kentucky, has officially played in his first NFL game and has officially played the first 11 snaps of his NFL career. Being a third round pick out of Western Kentucky and being a player that Brad Holmes traded up to draft, there was a lot of expectation for Brodrick Martin coming into this season. There was a lot of people thinking he might even start as the nose tackle for the Detroit Lions in Week 1 versus Kansas City. Now, that ended up not happening, as Brodrick Martin spent the first 7 games of his NFL career on the bench. He was a healthy scratch for 7 straight contests for the Detroit Lions, as they felt that guys like Isaiah Buggs, Benito Jones, Aleem McNeil, and Levi Onwuzurike were better fits for the teams that they were playing. But in Week 8, on Monday Night Football, in prime time, Brodrick Martin got his first opportunity in NFL, playing in his first ever career game and playing just 11 snaps on the night. Now, in those 11 snaps, Brodrick Martin at the nose tackle position recorded just 1 official tackle, which might not sound like a lot, but in those 11 snaps, Brodrick Martin showed exactly why people had high hopes for him, exactly why Brad Holmes traded up for him, and showed exactly what he can be for this Detroit Lions team moving forward with a larger workload and more opportunities to make more plays. So today we're going to take a look at Brodrick Martin. We're going to take a look at the third round pick out of Western Kentucky, the guy that Brad Holmes traded up for, the guy that was Brad Holmes' guy this year, right? Every year Brad Holmes seems to have one of those guys. In 2020, it was Amon-Ra St. Brown. In 2021, it was Amon-Ra St. Brown. In 2022, it was Kirby Joseph. It was James Houston. It was a lot of those late round guys. And this year, his guy was Brodrick Martin, a guy that he had so much faith in, a guy that he decided to trade away 3 day 3 picks to go up and get in the third round, has officially made his debut. And we saw exactly why Brad Holmes liked him on Monday Night Football. So let's get into taking a look at Brodrick Martin's first game. Now, again, Brodrick Martin only officially recorded 1 sack on the night. However, in the 11 snaps that Brodrick Martin played, the defense as a whole played very well. They had 2 tackles for loss in the run game, and they had a sack based off of Alex Anzalone's blitz and a hole that was opened up because of the vacated space that Brodrick Martin cleared for him to make a free shot at the quarterback and get his first sack of the night. So on 11 snaps, 3 of them were positive plays for the defense and 3 of them were negative plays for the offense. Now, I believe that the offense for the Raiders picked up 2 first downs on the plays that Brodrick Martin was on the field. So that's 2 first downs to 3 negative plays. That's a pretty good ratio for a guy getting just 11 snaps on the night. However, I think his impact goes even farther than that because, yeah, he played really well. Yeah, the defense played very well when he was on the field, but I think his impact shows up a lot more on film than it does on the stat sheet because, again, he only got 1 tackle, but as we talked about yesterday with guys like Josh Pascal, the stat sheet doesn't always tell the entire story for how good a player actually was. Now, I think that Brodrick Martin showed a lot of different characteristics as to why Brad Holmes drafted him. Obviously, Brodrick Martin got double teamed quite a few times. In his 11 snaps, I charted 3 different double teams on the interior of that offensive line, again, opening up holes for guys like Aleem McNeil to get tackles for losses, as well as guys like Alex Anzalone's to blitz free at the quarterback and get a sack. Now, on those 2 tackles for losses, obviously, Brodrick Martin didn't officially record those TFLs, but those TFLs do not happen without him. The one that stands out to me in particular is the play where they tackled Josh Jacobs for a TFL. It was a run going off to the left side of the field. Brodrick Martin took out 2 players on his way to the running back, and actually, I believe, even made contact with the running back, slowed him down enough for Aleem McNeil to get over, make a tackle for loss, wrap it up, and Aleem McNeil officially gets credit for that play, but that play does not happen without the 6'5" Brodrick Martin taking out two different offensive linemen, giving Aleem McNeil a free shot at the running back. He was great in run support, on double teams and run support. He pretty much just stood his ground, planted his feet, and did not move. He had two offensive linemen pushing against him, and he did not give an inch on the play. He was a great run defender. He was great versus double teams, and it was very clear that during the offseason, the Detroit Lions asked him to work on his center of gravity. They asked him to work on his leverage because despite being 6'5", 330 pounds, he lost the leverage battle quite a lot at Western Kentucky, and that's why a lot of people thought that he wasn't worthy of a top 100 pick. A lot of people thought that he was more of a day 3 developmental guy because despite having the size, despite being a pretty good athlete, he didn't have the leverage required to be a top NFL talent, right? He wasn't a guy that was consistently playing with good leverage, and because of that, there were players that were smaller than him, players that were lighter than him, that were able to push him down the field in college because he didn't have the greatest leverage. His pads were too high. The other guy had lower pad level and was able to make plays and push Brodrick Martin out of the way. When Brodrick Martin's level was correct, when his leverage was good, he looked like a dominant force on the defensive line, but those plays were far and few between. Brad Holmes identified that in college and said, hey, if we can fix this guy's technique, if we can fix this guy's leverage, or we can get him to rush a little bit lower and run defend with a little bit better center of gravity, a little bit better leverage, nobody's moving the 6'5", 330-pound defensive lineman if he has the lower pad level, right? And Brad Holmes identified that and said to the defensive line coach, hey, can you fix that? He obviously said yes. So Brad Holmes traded up in the third round, gave up 3 picks on day 3 again to go and draft Brodrick Martin. And it was a very clear piece of training, right? It was a very evident thing that the Detroit Lions asked him to work on his leverage, and it looked much better last night. Of the 11 plays that he ran, I think 9 to 10 of them were really good pad level. He showed really good leverage and showed that what he was capable of doing in the NFL. Now, old habits did come back. There was 1 or 2 plays where his pad level was a little high that he kind of got pushed down the field. And funnily enough, the play that he got pushed down the field is actually the play that he recorded a tackle on. But for the most part, for 8, 9 of those plays, his pad level was good. He didn't give up an inch in the run game. He made plays in the run game, even pushed offensive linemen back into the lap of the quarterback. And he had 1 good pass rushing rep and 2 or 3 really good run defending reps where they were able to make a tackle for loss, where they were able to pressure Jimmy Garoppolo out of the pocket. And I didn't chart this originally, but that 4th down conversion where Jimmy Garoppolo was able to roll out and throw it to Hunter Renfrow and it fell incomplete for a turnover on downs, Brodrick Martin was on the field for that as well. So even though it wasn't a negative play, that got the offense back on the field. So that's another 4th positive play for the defense that wouldn't have happened largely due to Brodrick Martin. Brodrick Martin didn't obviously get the pressure on that play, I don't believe, but he did push the offensive lineman back, did give the opportunity for Aiden Hutchinson to get one-on-one, and Aiden Hutchinson forced that play outside, forced the incompletion, and the Lions got back on the field offensively. But that's another play where Brodrick Martin's on the field and good things happened for the Detroit Lions. Now, I think Brodrick Martin showed really good power. Brodrick Martin showed really good leverage, and he showed a very high motor for what the Detroit Lions were asking him to do, because not every play went his way. Not every play went in his direction. There were plays where he overran it a little bit. There were plays where, again, there was those 2 or 3 plays where he kind of got washed out of the play originally, but he worked back towards the running back, worked back towards the quarterback. On bootlegs, he was one of those guys sprinting after the quarterback, even though he was 15, 20 yards away, was never going to catch Jimmy Garoppolo on a rollout on a bootleg, but he was continuing to chase. He was continuing to go after him, and that's the kind of motor the Detroit Lions love. Brodrick Martin continued to work his way downfield, continued to go after the quarterback, continued to go after the running back, and those are the kinds of plays, those are the kinds of moments that the Lions look at and say, that's a guy we're going to get on the field more. That's a guy that deserves more reps, who earned more reps, and will probably see more opportunity against the Los Angeles Chargers. I think him and Isaiah Buggs would be a really good run-stopping duo, and I think the 3 of them, including Aleem McNeil, is a great trio of defensive tackles. Once James Houston gets healthy and once Julian Okwara potentially comes back a little bit more and is a little bit more consistent, you could potentially even kick Josh Pascal inside on some of those plays and John Kaminsky inside on some of those plays and give you a really strong interior defensive lineman with arguably one of the hardest players to stop being Brodrick Martin, right? Brodrick Martin, just to take a look at his measurables one more time, is a 6'5", 330-pound interior offensive lineman. He has strength, he has power, and when he has leverage on you, you are not moving him. Like I said, there was a run play where the Raiders double teamed him, and Brodrick Martin did not even take a step backwards. He took all the force, he took the brunt force of both of those offensive linemen stood both of them up and forced Josh Jacobs to change direction right back into the arms of Aleem McNeil. That's the kind of defensive player we're getting with Brodrick Martin when he becomes consistent. Brodrick Martin at his ceiling is a great run-stopping defensive tackle and might not be an elite pass rusher, might not be a guy that's going to get in sharp pressures like Aaron Donald or Chris Jones, but he's going to be the unsung hero of this defense. He is going to be a better, more powerful version of Isaiah Buggs, and Isaiah Buggs is already a player that makes a lot of plays for the Detroit Lions defense. Their defensive line is significantly better with Buggs on the field, and I think Brodrick Martin is going to be an even better, bigger, stronger, and more powerful version of what Buggs does for the defense right now. So, with that being said, I know it was a very limited sample size. I know that Brodrick Martin didn't officially make very many plays on the stat sheet, but his tape was really, really good. His first impression for Detroit Lions fans was a very, very positive one. And I think he's a player that's going to continue to get reps, going to continue to improve. And much like Kirby Joseph, the third-round pick last year, much like the third-round picks of years past, like Aleem McNeil, they come on a little bit slow, but by about mid-season, by about Thanksgiving, they start becoming great players for the Detroit Lions. And I think Brodrick Martin is going to be the next person in line to follow in the footsteps of Kirby Joseph, follow in the footsteps of Aleem McNeil, and become that third-round pick that a lot of people overlooked. A lot of people thought maybe shouldn't even go in the third round, but eventually turns out to be a great player and a great pickup for Brad Holmes and the Detroit Lions. So, with all that being said, that is all I have for you guys today. Let me know down in the comments below what you thought about Aleem McNeil, what you thought about Brodrick Martin's first game as a Detroit Lion. What did you think about his debut? What did you think about his 11 snaps? What were your major takeaways from when he was on the field? And of course, how did you feel about the third-round rookie officially getting on the field? I'd be very curious what you guys have to say and what you guys thought about his debut. But with all that being said, that is all I have for you guys today. Thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, and as always, go Lions.